Now we're going to come out of that and we're going to hit a frog position for a bilateral, meaning both legs stretch. Again, blocks are optional for this part, so if you want to, because this is more of a recovery focused class, I don't want you guys working too much to be in a stretch. So the nice thing about having 1 or 2 blocks, again, how many blocks you need and which direction you have them will depend on your hip mobility. But if I sink down into a frog stretch, I can then place these underneath of my rib cage, and then I don't have to work so much to be here. It offloads my arms, it offloads my legs, and then I can just hang out on the blocks literally. Now if you can't get quite as low, you might need to stuff something else underneath there. You might take one of your blocks and you might flip it the other way so it holds you up a little bit higher. You can kind of adjust the objects underneath you or the blocks underneath you to literally meet you wherever you're at in terms of your mobility. Now, a few things to note here when finding your stretch is that you could start a little further out if you need to. You can sink back into it if you need to. You can play with your knee position if you need to as well, if we've got anything going on in the knees. There are lots of variables you can play with. You can adjust your pelvis. You can go through lumbar flexion and then lumbar extension. You're typically going to feel more of a stretch in your groin in lumbar extension. And you can even get fussy with it and go, okay, can I extend my lumbar spine or dip my pelvis forward without arching my entire spine? Because your rib cage really doesn't need to be involved in that. And if you have the blocks underneath there, it gets even easier to control that because you can rest your ribs on the blocks and then just manipulate your pelvis. So find whatever feels like your best stretch for you, which for me is right here. And then we're going to hang out here for a little bit. So we'll set a little timer here and we're good to go. Now we're going to do PAILs in this position, and as you guys hang out and stretch, I'm going to talk you through the PAILs contraction. If you've done any of the hip adduction or abduction classes, you may be familiar with this, or any of my classes. If not, then you may not. What's going to happen is I'm going to be driving down through my legs, but I'm not just going to think push through my knee into the ground. I'm also going to be thinking push through my ankle into the ground. So I'm going to be driving this entire surface down into the ground on both legs on the PAILs contraction. And what that'll feel like is it'll feel almost like you're trying to slam your legs shut into the ground or pop yourself up. But I don't want you to move at all. I want you to stay in the stretch that you should still be in right now and just ride that PAILs contraction out. Slowly increase how hard you're pushing, hold at the desired intensity, and then we're going to slowly ramp that back down. Make sure that it's a slow ramp in each direction. So we're not doing rails today because this is more of a recovery focused class. We'll slowly climb up. You'll push a little more, push a little more, push a little more, hold. And then when we relax, we're just going to slowly relax so we don't go from 60% contracted to just 0 right away. You're going to slowly ramp it back down. The word ramp being key in that scenario. So we'll come back down to our blocks here. We're going to hang out here just a little while longer. Now I'm going to go up to about 50-60% effort. You choose the intensity that feels best for you. If you want to stop at 30%, stop at 30%. We're not going to go up to 100% effort because this is not a max effort class. This is more of a recovery class. You'll find those classes in the joint specific section under hips for hip abduction and adduction. Those will be the ones that'll take you to max effort for your groin and for your glutes. Now, we're going to start now because it's been about 2 minutes. We're going to slowly inhale and we're going to slowly start to push down through the inside of your shin bones, just like 10% to start. We're going to climb really slowly. And then slowly keep turning that up. Make your way to 20%. Keep climbing 30%. You're going to feel that groin starting to work. 40%. If you want to go a little higher, you can meet me at 50%. We can hang out around 50. If you want to climb up to 60, you can, but I wouldn't go any higher than that for today's purposes. And we're just going to hold this. Now you're trying to keep that effort constant the whole time, trying not to let it increase or decrease. So if I had 2 weigh scales under each of your legs, I'd want to see the number on those weigh scales stay pretty consistent the entire time and that it doesn't fluctuate too much. We would also want to see equal effort on both sides. So just take note, am I pushing more through my right leg, more through my left leg? Try and keep it relatively even. Keep going. We are almost there. Make sure you're breathing the entire time and not holding your breath. Almost there. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now slowly ramp yourself back down. So from whatever point you went to, if it's 50%, find 40, 30, 20, 10, and relax.